I dropped the shirt. It slipped from my hands and hit the laundry bench like it had weight beyond cloth. Daniel's old college tee still soft from years of wear. I stared at my phone. The photo glowed at full brightness. Daniel, Kara, her parents, all teeth and scarves standing in front of a 12-foot Christmas tree dusted with fake snow. Aspen. The caption sat above the image like a slap. Can't wait to spend Christmas with my real family. Not one word about me. Not even a mention. Just that real family, as if I were some tired neighbor who used to help with the trash bins. My ears rang. I sank down onto the bench, elbows on my knees. My thumb hovered. I didn't call, didn't text, just typed, "Your real family won't be funding your trip. No punctuation, no fluff." I hit send and watched the screen. 10 minutes later, the post was gone. I had already taken a screenshot. The house was silent, except for the low hum of the dryer. I sat there, phone in my lap, the folded stack of towels forgotten beside me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just counted backward from 10 until my breathing caught up. The money had cleared yesterday. $2,800 wired directly from my personal savings account. Daniel had called 2 weeks ago, voice thin with stress, talking about the cost of flights, rental cars, ski passes. Kara had emailed afterward full of thank yous, and "We couldn't have done this without you." Gratitude like confetti, useless once it settled. And now, real family. I stood up, folded the shirt, and set it on top of the pile. Walked to the kitchen. Poured coffee I didn't want. Burnt bitter. I didn't sweeten it. Just sat down at the table and stared at the mug. The lights on the small plastic Christmas tree blinked unevenly from the corner. 2 years. No Thanksgiving visits. Birthdays acknowledged with emojis. Everything polite. Everything distant. But I kept wiring money, kept sending small packages, kept offering space when they needed time to breathe. I was never invited to Aspen, never even told they were going. I picked up the mug, set it down. I opened my phone again. The post was still gone. Not a single text from Daniel, not an apology, not even a lazy explanation. Just absence fast and clean, like the caption had never existed. But I had the screenshot, and I knew what it meant. Not a moment of forgetfulness, not an accident. This was the final step in a long walk away from me, a quiet erasure published like a holiday card. I pulled out my checkbook from the drawer, flipped to the most recent entry. Daniel, Christmas flights, $2,800. I drew a line under it, then another. My hand stayed steady, but my jaw locked tight. I sipped the coffee, let the burn settle in. Later that night, I sat in my sewing nook, the hum of the outside world muffled by insulation and snow. On the shelf above the machine was a framed photo of Daniel's college graduation. We were both soaked from the rain that day, clinging to each other like we'd survived something. I'd survived worse. I closed the door to the room and pulled out the old binder from the cabinet. Legal tabs, account numbers, deeds, receipts. Not out of vengeance, just preparation. Because if he was serious about leaving me out, he should have started with his financial paperwork. I tore the envelope in half. Not mail. Just an old card I'd kept tucked in a drawer, Daniel's from last Mother's Day. Pre-printed message, no handwriting, no signature. Just my name on the front and a shipping label from some online gift service. That was it. No call. No visit. I tossed the pieces into the bin under the sink. Then I sat down and started rewinding. Thanksgiving. 2 years ago. I made his favorite stuffing, bought the good coffee, even aired out the guest room. The night before he texted, plans changed. "We'll be with Kara's folks. Rain check Christmas last year." He sent a selfie with a Santa mug. No call. My birthday. A thumbs-up reaction to the message I sent, reminding him I was still here. I kept trying to see these things as gaps, not gashes. temporary distance. Young couple stress. New job, new circle, a different phase. I excused it all with the generosity only mothers seem capable of. But the caption had torn the illusion. He'd replaced me publicly, proudly. I stared out the kitchen window. The snow fell steady. No wind. Just the slow, thick hush of winter covering everything in silence. It used to bring me peace. Now it felt like a mirror. I had done this. Not the betrayal, but the groundwork for it. I made it easy. I sent checks without questions, gave without expectations, smiled when I felt ignored. I kept trying to be low-maintenance supportive, unproblematic. He never had to choose between me and them. I already made myself small. My coffee sat cold on the table. I didn't touch it. I thought about that time after his first round of college finals. He called me from the stairwell of the dorms, breathless. Told me he thought he failed chemistry. We stayed on the phone for hours while he paced, vented, panicked. "Just don't tell Dad," he whispered at one point. "You're the only one I can call like this." I was the safe place, the backup plan, the silent support. But silence becomes expectation, then background noise, then nothing. That night, I said the words out loud. That's enough. Not a scream, not a threat. Just fact. I looked over at the binder I'd pulled earlier. My notes sat open on the table: flight wire transfers, engagement gift receipts, the wedding fund deposit. I wasn't calculating revenge. I was recovering reality. Because they weren't just drifting, they were siphoning. Time, money, identity. All while smiling in family portraits I wasn't invited to. And I still had time to decide how to respond. I closed the binder, slid it into the drawer. Then I reached for my phone and started scrolling. Not texts, not photos, bank records. Every transfer I'd made in the last year. I pulled out a legal pad and started writing amounts, dates, descriptions, one line at a time. It wasn't just memory now, it was evidence. The kind I'd spent a career compiling for corporations, for attorneys, for women who thought they were losing their grip. I used to help them see the full picture. Now I was building my own, and the picture was starting to look ugly. I slammed the dishwasher shut. The clatter didn't help. I was already shaking, not with rage, something colder. Recognition. It was a photo. Another one. A brunch in the city, rooftop table, gold cutlery. Daniel smiling wide arms around Kara's parents. Kara's mother wore that silk scarf again, the one she always just threw on. Her father raised a mimosa. The caption read, "Family is everything. So lucky to have this day with our favorite person." I wasn't tagged. I wasn't there. I hadn't even known it happened. I stared at Daniel's grin. Not forced. Not polite. Real. The kind of smile that used to be mine. The next morning I called. Not to argue, just to ask. He picked up on the third ring. "Hey, Mom." "Hi, sweetheart." I saw the brunch photos. A pause. "Oh, that. It was just a quick thing. Kind of last minute. You didn't think to invite me? We figured it might not be your thing. Trendy food, loud music. You don't usually love that." He said it kindly, like a favor. I said nothing. "You're not mad, are you?" "No." I lied. He mumbled something about a work call and hung up. I stood there, phone in hand, stomach churning. A quick thing. Not your thing. I used to be the center of his world. Now I was a scheduling inconvenience. Hours later, I made the mistake of scrolling again. Another post. Kara's mother this time. So proud of the son I never had. A carousel of pictures. Engagement dinner. Champagne. Daniel in a tailored jacket leaning in as she toasted. The top comment from Daniel. A heart emoji. I sat down. Hard. Not hurt. Not even surprised. Just removed. Like someone had edited me out of my own story and didn't bother touching up the edges. These weren't grand betrayals. No shouting, No slammed doors, just silence, smiles, captions that rewrote reality one post at a time. But it added up, like snowfall. At first it's just flakes, then it buries your house. I opened my notes again, added new lines. No invite to brunch, just a quick thing. Kara's mom post. Daniel liked it. I capped my pen. He didn't forget me. He was replacing me. And it wasn't just public, it was working. The bank statement hit first, $3,000, labeled as a refund, from Daniel to Kara, pulled straight from the wedding fund. I hadn't asked for it back. I didn't even know there was a balance left. The account was something I'd set up last year, separate, clean, simple. My name on the primary, Daniel on the secondary. Purpose, wedding expenses. Now, it read like a slush fund for personal travel and wellness. My coffee went cold before I noticed I wasn't breathing. I'd funded the entire Aspen trip, not just in spirit, not just out of kindness. I had literally paid for every lift pass, every bottle of champagne, every filtered photo in their matching ski gear. That was Kara's birthday week. I wasn't invited. I saw it online. She wore white. Daniel wore a smug little smirk sitting between her parents, like the prodigal son they never lost. They called it Kara's birthday brunch. I called it a receipt. There was no trace of me, not in the posts, not in the captions. Just one line written by her mother under a photo of them at some overpriced rooftop venue. Family not just by law, but by love. Daniel liked it. It should have stung more, but I'd grown numb to it. The selective tagging, the filtered memories, the way I'd been edited out of the story I built. But this time, it wasn't emotional erasure. It was financial. That account was never meant to fund ski trips or spa brunches, and yet, here it was, $722 labeled event coordination, which turned out to be a wellness retreat. $318 for guest favors that were actually wine flights in Aspen. I cross-checked it with Kara's Instagram. The dates lined up. So did the smug hashtags. And still, I said nothing. Not to Daniel. Not to anyone. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table, receipts spread out, and let the numbers do the talking. The spreadsheet didn't lie. I hadn't lost control. I'd just postponed using it. The next day, I printed everything out, color-coded, indexed, and I labeled the folder Evidence, Phase 1. I yanked the attic ladder down with one sharp pull. Dust rained. The hinges creaked. I climbed anyway. My legs ached from sitting too long at the kitchen table, hunched over receipts, double-checking transfer logs. But I wasn't done. Not until I found it. The Christmas box sat where I'd left it 5 years ago, buried beneath faded wreaths and a cracked snow globe from a long dead trip to Vermont. I dragged the box forward. The label was still there, written in Daniel's 7-year-old handwriting. Xmas decor, mom's stuff. I opened the lid. Tinsel. Torn tissue. A broken ornament hook. At the bottom, taped inside a Ziploc, was the one I remembered. A crooked heart made of cardboard and glitter glue. Red ribbon looped through a hole, punched too close to the edge. To Mom. Love always. His handwriting wobbled all uppercase like he wanted every letter to shout. I remembered him holding it up proudly, shouting, "Everyone should know who I love most." I sat on the attic floor, held the ornament in both hands. I didn't cry, but something inside me cracked open. It wasn't rage. Not yet. It wasn't even sadness. It was the realization that the boy who made this had vanished. Not drifted. Not grown up. Vanished. The man left in his place forged insurance claims and called strangers. Real family. And I had paid for the disappearing act. I sat like that for what felt like an hour. Knees drawn up. Back against a cardboard box marked Halloween. Light slanting through the attic vent in pale, dusty lines. Then I stood up, walked downstairs, opened my laptop. My fingers hovered for a second before I moved. Muscle memory kicked in. I pulled up the template. Financial investigation personal. Tiered asset review. Last used 2017. The rows lit up in pale gray. The formulas were still intact. The categories weighted like old friends: wire transfers, conditional gifts, discretionary accounts, suspicious reclassifications. I clicked New Sheet, labeled it Wedding Fund, Audit Trail. Then I got to work. I wasn't doing this out of revenge, not out of heartbreak. I did it the way I used to break down fake numbers from sweaty CEOs. One formula at a time, one line at a time. Because if they thought they could launder my support into a story where I didn't exist, they had underestimated the wrong woman. I ran the numbers again, printed the receipts, clipped them neatly, indexed the Venmo transfers, highlighted refund to Kara in orange. The next morning, I'd call someone I hadn't spoken to in years. But tonight, I sat with my laptop open and the ornament beside it. The glitter had started to flake off. My name was still there, just faded. I stared at it for a long time. Then I opened a second tab, pulled up the contact info for Mira Jameson, typed one line into the draft email. Subject, legal clarity. Then I clicked save, not send. Not yet, but close. Very close. Because tomorrow, the real work would begin. I picked up the phone before I could second guess myself. Found her name. Pressed call. 3 rings. Mira Jameson. I almost forgot how clipped her voice could be. No wasted syllables. She never liked small talk. "It's Dorothy," I said. "Dorothy Langford." A pause. Then a low hum of recognition. "From the Petrocon audit. Dorothy Langford." "I thought you moved to the coast?" "I did." Another pause. This one warmer. "To what do I owe the surprise?" she asked. I looked at the stack of printouts beside my laptop, the Venmo screenshots, the spreadsheets, the little heart-shaped ornament still on my desk. "I don't want revenge," I said. "I want clarity." Her tone shifted instantly. Professional, precise. "Talk to me." I did. I told her everything, not in the shaky emotional way they always expect from women our age. I listed the transactions, the joint account, the misuse, the deleted post, the gift reframed as a refund. I told her about the phrase, real family, and the absence of mine from every public corner of my son's life. She didn't interrupt, just typed. When I finished, she asked one thing. "What do you want to protect my dignity?" I said first. Then, my money, my estate, my name. Send me everything. Every receipt, account number, email, screenshot, transfer log. I'll build the trail. You review it. The last time I worked with Mira, she was a junior associate with a steel spine and a color-coded inbox. Now she ran her own firm. I'd read about her once quietly dismantled a charitable foundation that turned out to be laundering foreign money through schools. She didn't blink at million-dollar fraud. She wouldn't blink at Daniel. I emailed her the documents within the hour. 15 attachments, 3 spreadsheets, a zipped folder labeled Wedding Fund Audit. She replied 10 minutes later with one line. "Let's get started." That night I brewed coffee, sat back down at the table. No music, no TV, just the hum of my laptop fan and the faint rustle of wind outside. I hadn't felt this sharp in years. Mira texted at 9:42 p.m. Discretionary versus conditional will matter here. Also need to trace how Kara's name appears, if at all. I replied, "She shows up twice. Joint apartment lease and gift receipts." Then we both went silent, working parallel in the dark. The last email I sent that night was short. "We need to isolate community property risk pre-marriage. Her access is growing." Mira's reply came at midnight. "Agreed, and it looks deliberate." I didn't sleep. I didn't cry either. I ran through every memory of Daniel. Not the child he's still somewhere in the past whole and smiling. I thought of the man, the one who let someone else's parents take credit for the boy I raised. If this was a negotiation, I was done being the free clause they edited out. And if Mira was right, if this was more than carelessness, then we were just getting started. I opened the Venmo archive and started scanning. Line by line, month by month. Nothing jumped out at first, just the usual digital clutter. Shared meals, split rides, the occasional coffee run. Then I saw it. Refund from Mom's wedding gift fund, $3,000. My stomach didn't flip. My breath didn't catch. I just stared. Sender Daniel. Recipient Kara. Dated 2 weeks before the Aspen trip. I hadn't requested a refund. There had been no conversation, no email, no call. It wasn't a correction. It was a reroute. I clicked the transaction. Notes were vague, just a smiley face and the word adjustment. They were washing the money. Not to hide it from me, no. They thought I wasn't even watching. But the effect was the same. They were rebranding my support, passing it through each other's hands, scrubbing the origin clean. I printed the page, trimmed the edges, highlighted the transaction in yellow, then pulled out a manila folder and wrote across the front in block letters, Evidence. Phase 1. The sound of the marker scratching the cardboard echoed in the kitchen. I hadn't realized how quiet the house had gotten. I added a sticky note to the corner track additional transfers. Then opened the master spreadsheet and entered a new row. Column A, refund. Wedding gift fund, column B, $3,000, column C, unauthorized, column D, Daniel. Kara, column E, not initiated by donor. I scrolled back through the other entries. The photographer's deposit, the catering invoice, the boutique sofa. Now this. They weren't just careless, they were careful. Mira had warned me. It's subtle now, but subtle turns deliberate quickly. I ran a trace on Kara's purchases. Next cross-referenced the Aspen photos with the dates of withdrawals. A spa charge here. A restaurant tab there. Rental gear. I remembered Daniel telling me once he didn't ski. Kara did. Of course, this wasn't planning. It was positioning. They were staging a version of adulthood with curated proof. Luxuries disguised as necessities. Support disguised as self-made stability. Me disguised as a background donor, conveniently off-camera. I clicked into my email drafts and began one to Mira. Subject asset redirect pattern, initial flag. Attached the screenshot. Embedded the spreadsheet row. Signed it. D, not Mom, not Dorothy, not love always. Just D. Professional. Distant. Controlled. Because that's who they were dealing with now. Not the woman who cried into her coffee when no one called on Mother's Day. Not the woman who smiled politely while being replaced in photos and seating charts. But the woman who used to crack open shell companies before breakfast and cross-check foreign tax shelters while stirring soup. If they wanted to turn me into a ghost, they should have made sure I was buried first. I clicked send, then slid the folder into the locked drawer of the hallway cabinet. The kind of drawer no one thought to check. The kind of drawer I used back when cases were still printed on paper, when secrets came bound in manila and not just hidden in apps. Phase 1 was complete. And now it was time to follow the rest of the trail. I pulled up Kara's Instagram and opened the spreadsheet. Side by side. Swipe. Enter. Cross-check. Repeat. Spa selfie white robe champagne, the caption read, Pre-wedding stress relief with my girls. Charge $722. Bridal coordination. Enter. Next photo dinner at a fondue place in Aspen. Candlelight, imported wines, Kara's parents flanking Daniel. Caption, celebrating love luxury and people who really get us. Charge $318. Guest favors. Enter. I moved faster. Another shot ski gear spread out on a hotel bed. Caption, couldn't have asked for a better getaway. Grateful for our new beginnings. Charge $950. Event deposit. Enter. I highlighted each row, labeled the categories, matched posts with dates, color-coded the entries. It wasn't hard. They hadn't been careful. They hadn't needed to be. They thought I'd never look. Every photo screamed entitlement. Every receipt whispered misdirection. What burned wasn't just the spending, it was the rebranding. They didn't just misuse the funds. They dressed them up, called luxury logistics, called indulgence planning, called their erasure of me a clean break. I paused and scrolled to a post I'd skipped before. Kara on a mountain ledge. So thankful for our circle. You know who you are. I used to be that circle. I paid for that view. Mira called while I was double-checking the PayPal entries. Dorothy, she said I went through the latest documents. She didn't mince words, never had. This isn't just misappropriation. It's intentional redirection. Possibly concealment. I clicked. Save. Let the words settle. They're rerouting funds under different purposes, she continued. The more we find, the more it suggests a pattern. Not carelessness. Strategy. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. I want to cross-reference the rest with the gift agreement, she said. But at this rate, we're approaching what I'd classify as soft laundering. That word stuck. Laundering. I used to trace shell companies for a living, watched boardroom criminals shift assets through friendly third parties to avoid taxes and consequences. I'd never imagined I'd be pulling the same thread inside my own family. I looked back down at the spreadsheet. 17 charges. 9 labeled falsely. 5 connected directly to Kara's posts. 3 had been transferred from the joint wedding fund to her personal account within 48 hours of those posts. She wasn't just spending it. She was curating it, crafting a narrative. Daniel, meanwhile, left no trace, no comments, no tags. Just one, like per post. Silent approval. I scrolled to a video of him giving a toast in the Aspen cabin. Her father clinked glasses with him. Kara laughed in the background. I paused it. His smile was easy, relaxed, like nothing was missing, like I'd already been erased. I printed the sheet, stapled it clean, tucked it into the manila folder under a new divider phase 2. Then I opened my email, attached the file. Wrote only one line to Mira. We follow the pattern. Let's see where it ends. Her reply came fast. On it. I pushed my chair back, stood. My knees cracked. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. It was evidence. I tore open the manila envelope and pulled out the latest documents Mira sent. First page, a dental insurance claim. My name. My policy number. Procedure full implant surgery. Patient elderly dependent. The dependent Kara's mother. My heart kicked hard. I flipped to the signature line. It was my name, but it wasn't my handwriting, not even close. The loops were too tight. The slope wrong. My hand had signed thousands of documents over decades. I knew my own rhythm. This was a mimic, a bad one. I stared at the ink. Black, bold, confident, like whoever did it didn't think I'd ever see it. The date of the procedure was 6 weeks ago. Covered, paid, closed. I grabbed my laptop and logged into the insurance portal. Pulled up my statement history. The charge sat there quiet, unbothered. A footnote in a system that never questioned it. I clicked on the PDF version of the signed form. Same fake signature. I leaned back, pressed my palms into my eyes. Mira's voice rang in my head. Redirection is one thing. But if they're using your name, that's a different game entirely. The phone rang. Mira didn't waste time. We have a problem, she said. I saw it, I said. She continued anyway. That signature, not yours. That's insurance fraud. Possibly elder fraud, depending on how they categorized it. They used my name, I said flatly. Yes. And not just there. There was more. Daniel had submitted a mortgage relief application 6 months ago. On it, my address. listed as his primary residence. Dorothy Mira said slowly, "He hasn't lived with you in years, right?" "Not since grad school," I said. "He's had 2 addresses since then." She sighed. "Using your address gave him eligibility for temporary financial relief under a different income bracket. He likely qualified because your property's value skewed the numbers." "So, they're not just spending my money," I muttered. "They're using my name, my credit, my records. And no one asked your permission." Silence. I could hear her tapping a pen lightly on her desk. "Do we press charges?" I asked, surprising myself. Mira didn't answer right away. "Then, it depends. If we escalate, it becomes public. But if we want leverage, we document, we pressure. We make it clear we're watching." I walked to the cabinet, pulled out my folder. I added a new divider, Phase 3. Labeled it in thick black ink, "Impersonation." "We'll report the false claim to the insurer," Mira said. "Quietly for now. Flag the mortgage relief as well. Let the systems ping Daniel for verification. And if he denies it," I asked. Mira's tone sharpened. "Then we bring out the rest." I stared at the folder. Spa charges, Aspen dinners, redirected refunds, and now my signature weaponized. I opened my drawer and pulled out an old legal pad. Scribbled a fresh heading, "Control taken." Control reclaimed. Below it I wrote 3 names. Daniel, Kara, her mother. Beside each what they'd taken. Money, access, identity. I capped the pen. They'd turned me into a ghost. I was going to become a mirror. I clicked. The email opened like a trapdoor. Subject: excited to welcome Daniel. Next steps for onboarding. Sender: a corporate domain I didn't recognize. But Mira did. She'd pulled it from a backup. Daniel never deleted properly, tucked inside a synced cloud folder she legally accessed after flagging discrepancies in his financial records. The message was clean. Too clean. "We're thrilled to bring Daniel into the family business. Once the paperwork's finalized, we'll initiate the clean break from old obligations. No mama drama. No loose ends." My fingers froze on the trackpad. I read it again. Slower this time. Clean break. No mama drama. Old obligations. It wasn't careless language. It was intentional, strategic, cold, businesslike. Like I'd become a liability they were managing off the books. I kept reading. Kara's father had structured the whole thing like an onboarding package. Investment vesting schedules. Partnership buy-ins. Relocation stipends. It wasn't just about a wedding. It was about ownership. Control. Image. Daniel's value came with a clause. Erase the woman who raised you. I sat still, not blinking, not breathing. I remembered when he first told me he'd proposed. He'd called from the back of a rideshare, breathless, laughing. "She said yes, Mom. She said yes." I'd clutched the phone to my chest after we hung up. I'd wept in relief. Now I stared at a corporate blueprint for my removal. No drama. No loose ends. Just delete the woman who held you through 3 childhood surgeries, who worked nights to pay your tuition, who gave up a second marriage because you needed her more. I dragged the email into the folder labeled Phase 4. Mira called. "You saw it, I did. Still think this isn't revenge?" "It's not revenge," I said. "It's documentation." She paused. Daniel knew that email wasn't written in a vacuum. I know. And I did. I saw it now. The way he stopped including me wasn't a drift, it was a decision. The slow fade-outs, the reworded stories, the sanitized version of his life that didn't have room for the messy woman who raised him with unvarnished love. Kara's parents weren't just replacements. They were the board of directors. And Daniel had chosen to become an employee. He didn't lose me. He traded me. I walked to the kitchen. Poured coffee into a chipped mug I hadn't used in years. The one from Daniel's 4th grade art class. A crooked handle painted in globs of blue. It said, "Dear one, Mom." I sipped slowly. Then I opened the master folder. It was time. I emailed Mira. Proceed with restructuring. Discretionary access frozen. Begin notification draft to Kara's family. Include findings and email content. Let them know I see everything. Mira replied in minutes, already in motion. I shut the laptop. I wasn't angry anymore. I was ready. I parked in the lot behind Mira's office and walked in without pausing. She was already waiting, folder in hand, laptop open, coffee going cold beside her. No small talk. Sit, she said. Let's get to it. We worked like we used to, back when it was oil executives and shadow invoices. Now it was Daniel. And names I used to write on Christmas cards. Mira opened the first file. Goal 1, freeze the wedding fund. You're still the primary account holder. You can lock the account and halt withdrawals retroactively. No notice required. She slid over the form. I scanned it. Signed. Done, I said. Goal 2, restructure the trust. Move it out of Daniel's reach. Currently, he's listed as successor trustee and partial beneficiary. I want that gone. We'll do a full amendment. Strip his discretionary privileges. Replace with named disbursements only. Medical, educational, charitable, no blank checks. We'll use the impersonation charges to justify cause. I nodded. What's the timing? 48 hours. Maybe less. Do it. Third, she said he needs to face you. I didn't respond. Mira continued. It's not just legal. It's personal. If we only act through paper, he'll say it was all in our heads, that you misunderstood, that we overreacted. I looked at the manila folder on the table. 4 dividers. Evidence in color-coded printouts, photos, bank records, an email about clean breaks and no mama drama. He can't spin this, I said. No, Mira agreed, but he'll try. We rehearsed the delivery of each packet like it was courtroom testimony. Exhibit A, misuse of funds. Exhibit B, signature forgery. Exhibit C, mortgage relief fraud. Exhibit D, collusion email from Kara's father. Each tab I'd print and deliver by hand. No lawyers yet. No court orders. Just truth, stripped of excuses. You're not just cutting him off, Mira said. You're exposing the cost of keeping him in. I sat back. Tired, but clearer than I'd been in months. I remembered nights feeding him when he had the flu. I remembered arguing with his principal when they called him disruptive in 5th grade. I remembered the feeling of locking the door to my bedroom just to cry in silence after he told me Kara's parents felt more like family now, and I remembered funding it all, quietly, faithfully, without applause. Mira clicked her pen. You ready for the delivery schedule? Yes. You'll meet Daniel first. In person. I nodded. Where? She smiled. Wherever you want. I opened my notebook and wrote 1 word. Neutral. Then I circled it. Twice. Mira closed the file. We send the notice to Kara's parents afterward, and the trust restructure goes live Friday. What about the insurance company? I asked. Already flagged. Their internal audit team's pulling signature logs now. We'll use their findings if Daniel tries to push back. I stood, gathered the folders, tucked them under my arm. Mira walked me to the door. You're not just holding them accountable, she said. You're rewriting your role. I didn't reply. I just tightened my grip on the evidence and stepped outside. I boiled the water, salted it, dropped in the pasta. The smell brought me back. Daniel used to hover near the stove, stealing spoonfuls of sauce before I could stop him. Red splatters on the counter, laughter in his throat. Now it was just me in the kitchen, wiping down the edge of the plate with a paper towel. He texted 5 minutes before he arrived. Kara's not coming, long day. Just me. Hope that's okay. I didn't respond. He knocked once. Didn't wait. Let himself in like always. Smells amazing, he said, shrugging off his jacket, tossing it over the back of the couch. Been too long. He hugged me lightly. One-armed, detached. I served the plates. He ate fast like he always had. like nothing had changed. "This the one with the crushed red pepper?" he asked through a mouthful. I nodded. He smiled. "You still got it." We talked about nothing. The weather, work, a recipe he wanted to try someday. I let him talk. Let him enjoy. Then I set my fork down. "There are discrepancies in the fund." He didn't stop chewing, just raised an eyebrow. I continued. "In the wedding account?" I reviewed the statements. Still chewing, still calm. I saw transfers marked as logistics, but used for personal travel. Refunds sent to Kara that were never approved. Your signature on documents with my name. He swallowed, drank from the glass, set it down. "Mom," he said, laughing a little. "Are you auditing me? I'm clarifying." "Seriously." He leaned back. "You think this is a scandal? It's not that deep. We moved some stuff around, sure. But it's all family." I didn't blink. I never authorized those charges. "You gave us the fund," he said, still smiling. "You said it was a gift, not a blank check." "It's a wedding, Mom," he said. "It's not a courtroom." "No," I said. "But you made it one." He rolled his eyes. "You always do this. You turn everything into a legal thing, a math thing. It's exhausting." "I've seen the paperwork, Daniel." His tone shifted. "You're being dramatic." "No," I said. "I'm being accurate." He pushed his chair back slightly. "This is why I didn't want to tell you everything," he muttered. "You didn't tell me anything." He looked away. I waited. The sauce on his plate had gone cold. Mine sat untouched. "You act like we scammed you," he said. I stayed silent. "Do you even hear yourself?" he continued. "I've got a life now, a partner, responsibilities. You think we're out here trying to destroy you?" "You didn't destroy me," I said. "You just erased me." That shut him up for a second. I reached for the envelope beside my chair and slid it across the table. Inside, printed screenshots, account statements, the insurance claim, the mortgage relief form, his fake signature next to mine. He didn't open it, just stared at it like it might explode. I stood, cleared the plates. He didn't move. I poured coffee, placed the mug in front of him. White ceramic. No design, no warmth, just like the facts. I sat back down and folded my hands. He didn't touch the coffee. "I didn't mean to cross a line," he said finally. I said nothing. He reached for the envelope, then stopped. "You act like this was malicious." Still, I didn't speak. He ran a hand through his hair. "Look, some things overlapped. That doesn't mean it was fraud." I kept my face still. His voice grew thinner. "Kara's mom needed help. It wasn't a big deal. We figured you figured what?" He hesitated. "That it would get sorted. That you wouldn't care." I nodded. "Once." He took that as permission to keep going. "You're blowing this out of proportion. Everyone moves money around when planning weddings. Ask anyone." I didn't move. "We didn't think you'd investigate." There it was. The real confession. I reached for the coffee, took a sip. Bitter. Exactly how I drank it. He rubbed his forehead. "You're not seriously thinking of taking legal steps." I placed the mug down. "I'll be following up with legal review." He froze. No fake smile this time. No shrug. Just that twitch behind the eyes where fear begins. "I'm your son." "I know." He opened the envelope, pulled out the screenshots, the Venmo logs, the signed insurance claim. Each page moved slower than the last. "Kara didn't know the insurance was in your name," he said weakly. "She signed it." He said nothing. "She also liked the caption calling her father her real parent. Did you?" He looked down. I let the silence settle. "I gave you more than money," I said. "I gave you room to choose." "And you did." He shook his head. "It wasn't like that. You negotiated me out of your life, Daniel. I just signed the confirmation." He stood abruptly. "I didn't come here for a trial." "No," I said. "You came for a meal." I reached into the drawer behind me, pulled out another envelope sealed. Set it beside the empty plate. This is the new structure for the trust. You're no longer a discretionary beneficiary. Any further use of my name, identity, or address will trigger formal escalation. He didn't take it, didn't sit, didn't speak. Just stared at me like he didn't recognize what I'd become. But I hadn't become anything new. I had just stopped hiding it. I stood and walked him to the door. He turned finally to say something, but I opened it before he could speak. I saw the photos before I heard about the party. Kara's parents' house lit up like a showroom. Crystal glasses, chandeliers, polished hardwood floors. A backdrop for what they thought was their victory lap. Daniel in a fitted suit, arm around Kara. Her parents at either side smiling like royalty. The caption, "Celebrating the future with family that matters most." I wasn't tagged. I wasn't invited. It didn't matter. The folder on my table had grown too thick to ignore. Each tab, a nail in the coffin of their careful narrative. Every transfer, every lie, every forgery stacked in clean lines, a quiet arsenal. Then Mira's email came through. Subject line, trust review, final draft. I clicked. Halfway down the page, buried in the boilerplate language, I saw it. Kara's name. Listed as a secondary beneficiary if Daniel and I both passed. A footnote from years ago, back when I thought she was just awkward, not deliberate. Back when I still believed proximity meant family. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I laughed. Soft, short, not bitter, just clear. That changed today. I printed the amended draft, highlighted the removal clause, added it to the folder under a fresh divider, amendments, executed. Then I picked up my phone, scrolled through the photos again. Daniel, glass raised, Kara glowing in a designer dress, her mother clutching her hand like they'd sealed something permanent. Her father clinking a glass against Daniel's like they'd signed the contract already. I whispered to myself, the stage is theirs. Then I touched the folder, tapped the highlighted clause with my finger, but the script is mine. I closed the laptop, stacked the papers neatly, tied the folder shut with a rubber band. My weapon didn't need applause. It only needed delivery. Mira had already scheduled the next meeting. Quiet. Controlled. In her office, not theirs. The timing was perfect. While they toasted under chandeliers, I sat in my kitchen, under the hum of a single bulb, watching my coffee steam rise. One show was public, the other was decisive. And tomorrow, the curtains would lift on mine. I arrived early. Mira had everything printed, stacked, labeled. The room was cool, neutral, like a holding cell before sentencing. Daniel and Kara came in 5 minutes late, holding hands. Kara wore white. Of course. Daniel didn't look at me when he sat. He looked at the folder on the table. "What's this?" he asked. Mira clicked her pen. "We'll walk through it." "No lawyers?" Kara asked. "Not yet," Mira said. I didn't speak, just watched. First, Mira began, "The wedding fund has been frozen. All disbursements reviewed, non-wedding charges flagged." Kara blinked. "Excuse me," Mira continued. "Transfers labeled as coordination favors, deposits reclassified. Misuse confirmed." Daniel shifted. "That's not how it works." "It is," Mira said, "when the account is in your mother's name." I slid the document across. Kara didn't touch it. "Second," Mira said, "insurance fraud. A claim submitted under Dorothy's name. Forged signature. Services billed for a third party." Mira tapped the printout. "Kara's mother," she said. "Implant surgery. Covered in full. Signed by you." Kara's mouth opened, then closed. Mira didn't wait. "The provider has been notified. The insurer is investigating. You'll be contacted." Daniel leaned forward. "We didn't mean intent is irrelevant." Mira cut in. "Execution matters." Kara looked at him, voice flat. "You said she wouldn't find out." He didn't respond. Third, Mira said, Flipping the next page, mortgage relief, filed using Dorothy's address. False residency claim. Daniel's face lost color. I stayed silent. And fourth Mira said, turning to the email printout, the message from Kara's father regarding Daniel's onboarding. Clean break, no mama drama. She read it aloud, word for word. When she finished, no one moved. I reached into my bag, pulled out the trust amendment. Launched yesterday, Mira said. Daniel is no longer a discretionary beneficiary. No access, no loopholes. Effective immediately. Daniel stared at the paper like it had betrayed him. Kara swallowed hard. So what now? Mira closed the folder. Now you adjust. They didn't speak. I stood. Picked up the manila envelope from the edge of the table. Everything you erased, I said. Quietly, I kept. Daniel looked up. Pale. Small. Kara's jaw tightened. You're doing this out of spite. No, I said. I'm doing this out of memory. I turned to Mira. We're done here. I shut my phone off for 2 days. When I turned it back on, the silence was louder. No calls, no messages, no mom, not even a weak apology. But the world had shifted. Mira texted first. They pulled the offer. Kara's parents, those polished vultures in designer coats, had backed out of the partnership. Their lawyers cited sudden complications and instability in personal matters. A clean exit, tied off with polite shame. Mira forwarded me the press release, buried halfway down the page, strategic restructuring. I read it twice, smiled once. By noon, I checked Instagram. Kara's posts began vanishing one by one. No more Aspen, no more matching robes, no more ski slope photos captioned the life we deserve. The birthday trip vanished. The fake captions, the flattery, all scrubbed like a mistake they were trying to undo. She tried to rebrand. Went quiet. Posted a quote about privacy and healing. The comments turned. Someone asked, wasn't this the woman who lied about her in-laws? Another wait, wasn't that trip paid for by his mom? I didn't comment. Didn't like. Just watched. Mira emailed again that afternoon. Wedding postponed indefinitely. The florist deposit wasn't returned. The venue date disappeared from the registry. Even the dress shop removed her tagged story. No statement. Just silence. I pictured her sitting in their shared apartment scrolling through the mess. I pictured Daniel sitting beside her not knowing what to say. For once. I brewed coffee, sat on the porch. The sky was a flat gray like it had exhaled something heavy. I let the mug warm my hands. They had built a future on my name, my funds, my silence. And now they stood in the ruins of it, unable to blame the wind. I didn't rejoice. Didn't gloat. That was never the point. The goal wasn't to burn them down. The goal was to stop letting them build on me. They had counted on my love staying quiet. On my loyalty outlasting their lies. And for years it did, until it didn't. I stood, stepped inside, and pulled the binder from the cabinet. The tabs still sat sharp, precise, no longer weapons, just history. Mira had already started the next process. Trust restructuring finalized, account audit sealed, insurer notified, and Daniel. Still no call. I didn't chase it. I didn't need to. The pounding on the door came after dark. I set my mug down, heart steady, and opened it. Daniel stood there, no coat, just a sweater too thin for the cold. His hair was messy, his face hollow. In his hand a photo, creased, faded, printed on cheap, glossy paper. Me holding his diploma. Him grinning in his cap and gown cheeks still soft with youth. His voice cracked. I messed up. I didn't move aside at first. Just looked at him, at the boy who used to run barefoot through the yard, chasing fireflies, at the man who signed my name on papers I never saw. Finally, I stepped back. Not warmly. Just enough. He walked in slow, as if the walls might reject him. His eyes flicked over the furniture like he wasn't sure if he still belonged here. I closed the door behind him. He sat at the kitchen table, the same chair he used to take for late-night snacks after practice. Now he hunched smaller, somehow. The photo still clutched in his hand like a lifeline. He didn't mention Kara, didn't explain, just stared at the grain of the wood. "I don't know when I started thinking you were the problem," he said quietly. "But I see it now." I leaned against the counter, said nothing, let him fill the silence. I thought I was building something, thought they had the answers, but it was just his voice caught. It was just me being stupid. He pushed the photo toward me. Remember that day I glanced down. The sun had been hot, the stage crowded. He'd searched for me after the ceremony, and when he found me, he'd run straight into my arms. I'd held him so tight, terrified the world would take him before I was ready to let go. I nodded once. I remember. He folded his hands, waited, like a boy waiting for a grade he already knew he'd failed. I didn't touch the photo, didn't reach for him. He whispered, "Do you hate me?" "No," I said, "but I don't forget." He nodded, shoulders heavy. "I'll make it right." I didn't answer, just pulled a clean mug from the cupboard, poured coffee, set it in front of him. He wrapped his hands around it, unsure if it was an offering or a test. We sat in silence. The only sound was the slow drip from the faucet. He didn't cry. I didn't soften. The moment wasn't forgiveness. It was a beginning. And beginnings are never warm. I reached for the folder under the counter. Not the thick one. A slimmer one, labeled simply restitution. I placed it beside his coffee. We ate in silence. He picked at his food. I finished mine. Nothing fancy. No nostalgia in the meal. Just something warm served without ceremony. Afterward, I cleared the plates, set down a single folder in the middle of the table. He looked at it. Didn't ask. I opened it for him. "Voluntary restitution agreement," I said. $9,400. Every cent unaccounted for. This doesn't include interest, doesn't include the trust restructuring, doesn't include the forgery, just the baseline. He blinked. I pushed the pen toward him. "You can walk away without signing, but if you do, there won't be a second invitation." He picked up the pen, paused, then signed. No argument, no bargaining, no excuses. He didn't even ask what the payments would look like. He just wrote his name. Slow, careful, each letter shaped like it meant something. I slid the copy toward him. "Keep that. File it. There's no shame in having terms. This isn't punishment," he said quietly. "No," I said. "It's repair." He nodded. "I want to earn it back." "You don't get me back." His eyes lifted. "You get the chance to show me who you are now," I said. "That's it." He swallowed, folded the paper, tucked it into his jacket. The air between us held steady, still cold, but no longer hostile, just honest. He pushed back from the table, stood, didn't rush. He hesitated at the door, one hand on the frame. I didn't say anything. He left without a word. I walked to the sink, ran the water, washed 2 plates, then returned to the table, opened the copy of the agreement, initialed the bottom, stamped the date, slipped it into the back of the binder marked "Closed Matters." Not revenge, not reconciliation, just a record that the story had changed. I caught him before he stepped off the porch. "Wait," I said. He turned, shoulders hunched, like he was bracing for another blow. The night air was sharp, his breath coming out in pale clouds. His hand still rested on the banister as if ready to run. I went back inside, opened the drawer where I'd placed the photo he brought, the one of us on his high school graduation day. I slipped it from its sleeve, walked back out, and held it toward him. He looked confused. "You want me to keep it?" "No," I said. "I want you to remember it." He glanced down at the picture, his younger self grinning, clutching the diploma, my arm wrapped around him, pulling him close, proud, despite the exhaustion in my eyes. "You had character, then," I said. "You looked me in the eye. You meant it when you said you wanted to make me proud." He swallowed hard. Maybe it's time to find him again. He didn't answer right away, just studied the image like it belonged to someone else, like he couldn't quite connect the boy in the photo to the man standing in front of me now. Finally, he nodded. Slow, heavy. "I don't know if I can." "You can," I said, "but no one else can do it for you." His hand trembled slightly as he tucked the photo into his jacket pocket, not as a keepsake, as a weight. He looked at me, really looked for the first time in months. His eyes weren't defensive. They weren't cold. They were tired. Stripped bare. "Thank you," he whispered. I didn't reply. He stepped down from the porch shoes, crunching against the gravel, walked to his car without looking back, opened the door, paused once more, then drove off into the dark. The sound faded. The night returned to stillness. I stayed on the porch a while, my arms crossed tight, the wood cool beneath my feet. I thought about that day years ago, the sun beating down his smile, brighter than anything I'd seen since. I thought about all the years I'd held on for him, waiting for him to choose better. And now, for the first time, it wasn't my job to hold on anymore. I stepped back inside, closed the door behind me, turned off the light. Tomorrow would come, and with it, the last move that was mine to make. I flipped on the coffee maker before the sun came up. No texts, no knocks, no voice in the hallway calling my name like it used to. Just the steady gurgle of water and the faint hum of silence. I pulled the white ceramic mug from the second shelf. Clean. Simple. No chips. I'd bought it years ago without thinking, just one of those things you toss into the cart. It had survived 3 apartments, 2 moves, 1 broken marriage, and a son who no longer called me mom without some kind of edge in his voice. The mug read in plain black letters, "Still mine." Not a brand, not a slogan, just the truth. I poured the coffee slow. No rush, no multitasking. Behind me, the kitchen clock ticked steady. I didn't check the time. I didn't need to be anywhere. I leaned against the counter, let the steam touch my face. Outside the porch, light flicked off on its timer. Inside, nothing moved. Nothing asked. Nothing demanded. I took a sip. Bitter. Strong. Just how I liked it. The folder was gone. The envelope sealed. The calls made. Every receipt, every document, every step filed, sent, finished. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to fight. I just needed to stop giving things away. I took another sip. This was mine, the quiet, the mug, the room, the breath between regrets. All of it. I didn't win by forcing him to change. I won by remembering I still existed when he forgot. The clock ticked on. The steam thinned. I stood in the kitchen alone, but not empty,